Unlock your hip flexor mobility with these 10 effective exercises. Improve flexibility and reduce pain. Welcome back to our channel, where we strive to help you achieve your fitness and wellness goals. In today's video, we'll be delving into the world of hip flexor mobility exercises. Hip flexors are a crucial group of muscles that play a significant role in our daily activities, from walking and running to sitting and standing. However, due to prolonged periods of sitting and inadequate stretching, many people suffer from tight hip flexors, which can lead to discomfort and limit our range of motion. But don't worry, we've got you covered. We'll be sharing 10 highly effective exercises to improve your hip flexor mobility, reduce pain, and enhance overall flexibility. Exercise 1. Hip flexor stretch. Our first exercise is the hip flexor stretch. This exercise is a fantastic starting point for improving hip flexor mobility. To perform the hip flexor stretch, begin by kneeling on the floor with one leg forward and the other bent at a 90-degree angle. Ensure that your back is straight and your pelvis is tucked under. Now, gently lean forward into the stretch while keeping your back straight. You should feel a gentle stretch in the front of your hip on the extended leg. Hold this stretch for about 20-30 seconds, then switch to the other leg. You can repeat this stretch 2-3 times on each side. If you're more flexible, you can try the standing hip flexor stretch by placing one foot forward, bending the knee, and gently leaning forward. Remember to keep your back straight. The hip flexor stretch helps to improve the flexibility and mobility of your hip flexors, which can alleviate lower back pain and improve your posture. Common mistakes to avoid include arching your back or leaning too far forward, which can strain your lower back. Exercise 2. Butterfly stretch. Next up, we have the butterfly stretch. This exercise is great for targeting both the hip adductors and flexors. To perform the butterfly stretch, sit on the floor with your feet together and your knees bent outward, resembling the wings of a butterfly. Hold your feet with your hands, keeping your back straight and your chest up. Use your elbows to gently push your knees toward the floor. You should feel a stretch in your inner thighs and hip flexors. If you're a beginner, you can place cushions or yoga blocks under your knees for support. For a more advanced stretch, gently press your knees closer to the ground. The butterfly stretch is excellent for improving hip flexibility, which can help reduce hip and lower back pain. Common mistakes include rounding your back or forcing your knees down, which can lead to discomfort or injury. Exercise 3. Pigeon pose. Now, let's explore the pigeon pose, a yoga-inspired hip opener that's incredibly effective for improving hip mobility. To get into the pigeon pose, start in a plank position and bring your right knee forward, placing it behind your right wrist. Extend your left leg behind you and point your toes. Square your hips to the front of the mat. Lower your upper body onto your forearms and relax into the stretch. For beginners, you can use a cushion under your hip or place your back knee on the ground. Advanced practitioners can deepen the stretch by extending their arms forward and lowering their chest closer to the floor. The pigeon pose is fantastic for opening up your hip flexors and improving overall hip mobility. It can also alleviate tension and discomfort in the hips and lower back. Avoid common mistakes such as rounding your back or collapsing onto your hip. Maintain proper posture and focus on deep, controlled breathing. Exercise 4. Lunge with a twist. The lunge with a twist is a fantastic exercise for improving your hip mobility, as it works on the rotational aspect of your hip joint. It also engages your core muscles, helping with balance and stability. Make sure to maintain proper form throughout the exercise. If you're a beginner, you can start with a smaller range of motion and gradually increase it as you become more comfortable. For advanced practitioners, you can hold a light weight or resistance band in your hands to add an extra challenge. The benefits of this exercise include improved hip mobility, increased core strength, and enhanced balance. Common mistakes to avoid include leaning too far forward or letting your knee go beyond your toes. Focus on maintaining a 90-degree angle in your front knee. Exercise 5. Quadruped hip circles. Next, let's explore quadruped hip circles, an exercise that can greatly improve your hip flexibility. To perform this exercise, start on your hands and knees in a tabletop position. Keep your wrists directly under your shoulders and your knees under your hips. Now, Begin by making circular motions with your hips, moving them in a clockwise direction. After a few rotations, switch to a counterclockwise direction. For beginners, you can start with smaller circles and gradually work your way up to larger ones. Advanced practitioners can increase the range of motion and speed of the circles. Quadruped hip circles are excellent for improving hip mobility and flexibility. They also help to warm up the hip joints before more intense exercises. Exercise 6. Hip Flexor Activation Drill. Now, let's move on to the Hip Flexor Activation Drill, which is designed to activate and strengthen your hip flexors. Begin by lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. Place your hands palms down by your sides for stability. Now, lift your hips off the ground by pressing through your heels, engaging your glutes and hip flexors. Hold this position for a few seconds, then lower your hips back down. Common mistakes include lifting the hips too high or letting them sag. Exercise 7. Standing hip circles. Let's keep the momentum going with standing hip circles, a standing variation that targets your hip mobility. Stand up straight with your feet hip-width apart. Place your hands on your hips for stability. Now, start making circular motions with your hips, moving them in a clockwise direction. After a few rotations, switch to a counterclockwise direction. Focus on keeping your upper body upright and maintaining control. And there you have it. 10 effective hip flexor mobility exercises to help you improve flexibility, reduce pain, and enhance your overall well-being. Incorporate these exercises into your daily routine, and you'll be well on your way to achieving better hip mobility. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more fitness tips, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next video.